Hi there, my name is Paul Clutterbuck. I'm the owner and one of the coaches here at First for Fitness. And in today's video, I'm going to go over on sort of a weak demonstration on why diets fail for most people. So one of the main reason why people fail on diets is when they're no longer in a calorie deficit. So you've got your calorie deficit where you are eating less calories than you're burning per day. And so it's a few reasons why people fall out of this calorie deficit. So there's a change of calorie balance. So with that, you've got your daily calories burnt. Let's go on the job change scenario. So you've got someone who's in a fairly active job and they eat the same amount of calories across time. So you're in a fairly active job and then you get a promotion or the job changes or you retire. You then become very sedentary in one form or another. So you've got high calories here being burnt on an active job, and then you've got low calories being burnt here on a more sedentary lifestyle. If your eating calories are the same across both phases, in the more sedentary phase, you are probably going to be eating into a calorie surplus, so therefore you will slowly start to gain weight over time. The other one is no longer adhere to the diet. So these are more fad diets, starvation diets, so they're very low calorie diets. They're very difficult to stick to long term. So for example, we've had a lot of people who do Slimming World or Weight Watchers or a Cambridge diet, where they jump on the diet and they follow the instructions. They get to a point where their weight loss stalls, or they just have an event that happens in their life that's very stressful, or they just simply get bored on the type of food that they're eating, and then they go back to how they were eating before. So that short-term adherence on the diet puts people into a calorie surplus again, especially on starvation diets when people have been low calories for so long. There's a pull to go back in the opposite direction and have a couple of binge days, and then once those binge days start, it's very difficult to get yourself out of that downward spiral. And then the last point I've got on here is the diet focuses more on their methods rather than the overall principle. So, and what I mean by this is, again, going back to Slimming World, Weight Watchers, the Cambridge diet, any other diet out there that talks about their method of how to do it, rather than teaching you the underlying principle to weight loss, which is basically a calorie deficit. So if there is a diet out there that gives you approved foods and non-approved foods, that is basically a typical fad diet. If you want to lose weight, there is literally no foods that are classed as non-approved or bad, because it's the total calorie intake over the day, over the week, over the month, that's going to give you the results you want or not want in some cases where weight loss, weight gain happens. So I've done another video where I talk about two guys who basically only ate Twinkies and ice cream at the end of 12 weeks and at the end of 100 days, both lost weight. So it's not sugars, it's not carbs, it's not fats, it's total calorie intake. Right, so I'm going to go over a quick 7-day or week-long example on how a lot of people fail on a lot of diets. Coming back to the fact that they are no longer in a calorie deficit. So that red line there represents 2,000 calories, and each red block represents 500 calories. So when you are good Monday to Thursday, so you've got 1,500 calories there, so there's a 500 calorie deficit. Friday comes along and you have a glass of wine or two to switch off the working week, start to relax for the weekend. And then Saturday comes along, I've been quite generous here in only adding 2,000 calories, but it's really simple for someone to overeat 4,000 calories on top of their target calories of say 1,500 in this example. That could be a simple takeaway and a small dessert with alcohol on top. It could be going out and drinking the majority of the days or the majority of the excess calories for that day. It could be just going out with friends, having a casual meal, again adding drink on top of that, or it could just be random snacking on sweet foods during the day. And then you have the Sunday, which is a slightly less extreme version of Saturday, a little bit more control, but again still eating a tad too much. So even though we've got a calorie deficit for the 4 days of the week, we've got one day where we're in a calorie maintenance, and then Saturday, Sunday, we're in a calorie surplus. Even though the majority of the week you are in a calorie deficit, this is the problem when people take that approach where they're good during the week and they relax or have their cheat days on the weekend. So if we move those blocks, put that one there, you'll see that by spreading the calories eaten over the week, that they have basically just filled in that calorie deficit. Again, I was being quite generous in not making Saturday as extreme as what it can be and has been for a lot of people. So if you were to add another 500 calories on top of that over time, if that was a regular thing for you, you would always have some form of big social event on the weekends, weight gain will happen over time. Slowly, but it will happen over time. So that's the problem with going on the good during the week, relax on the weekend approach to dieting. Just to give you some little factors that help with adherence, because the adherence factor is another key aspect. So there's no point going back to here. You can see they're adhering Monday to Thursday, and then there's no adherence Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And going on that cycle week in, week out will only at best keep your weight stable. If there, like I say, if there's an additional 500 calories on top of that each week, then over time that will then add to fat gain or weight gain. So seeing results is a good factor to keep people on track, basically. So if you're starting to see the slight weight loss over the weeks, it gives you more motivation to stay on track. There is downsides on some tracking methods. It's understanding all the factors that can make something look not as good as what it is. So for example, just going off scale weight. Scale weight is not a great factor to work off if you don't know all the other factors that can result in weight going up, for example. I'll create another video for that because I'll have to go quite into depth. Easy to stick to, so a diet that is easy to stick to, that you end up doing naturally. If you're on a diet that you can't see yourself living on, you're basically on the wrong diet for you. Because you will stick to it short term, you'll come off it, you'll go back to the old ways that put you into a body shape that you didn't like, and you'll be in a forever yo-yo diet. Enjoyable and flexible. So this is something that a lot of people are being told, that dieting for general population has to be so rigid and strict. If you're not if you are quite happy with just losing general weight, I say that by a lot of people want to get six packs and things like that. So that when you get closer to getting a six pack, it does get a bit more restrictive. But if you're not worried about getting a six pack, you just want to lose a lot of weight, you can have a very, very flexible approach. So for example, going on what we had earlier with the 1,500 calories, you could literally eat all 1,500 calories in one meal per day, as long as you don't go over that 1,500 calories. You could have 2 meals a day. So 2 meals a day is what they're calling a sort of intermittent fasting approach. There's nothing special about intermittent fasting other than it's a tool to help control calories. So you could turn around and have one meal, say for example lunchtime, and then you can have your other meal at dinner. There's nothing special about breakfast either, so you can skip past that if your lifestyle is you have a very rushed morning. So like I say, nothing special about breakfast. It's not going to get your metabolism going. You can quite comfortably skip it and then have your first meal, say for example lunchtime, and then you have your next meal at dinner. Social support is a little bit of a weird one. You would think that friends, family, co-workers would automatically support someone in their weight loss efforts. We've come across quite a lot of scenarios where that's not the case, where work colleagues, partners, friends, they do say things to try to sabotage that person's weight loss goals. We've heard countless stories of from after a weight loss chat in an office has taken place, all of a sudden the next day there's more donuts, more chocolate appearing on the desk. So having a good social support is quite important. Fits in with lifestyle. Again, it kind of comes back to that flexibility, enjoyment aspect, in the fact that it doesn't have to be as strict or as rigid as what a lot of people make it out to be. You can quite comfortably slot your meals in times where you are comfortable sitting down and eating. If you are trying to cram food in at times where you just so rushed off your feet you can't do that, for example, mums who are trying to get kids ready for school, they're rushing around and they just put a bit of toast on and they just have the bit of toast hanging out their mouth whilst they're running around the kitchen chasing after kids, getting their lunchbox ready, getting their shoes on. Those sorts of scenarios, just forget about the piece of toast, because that piece of toast will probably lead to a few other things as you're grabbing and on the go. Just take your time, just have breakfast, just have your first meal at lunchtime where you can sit down and relax and eat that meal. Minimal hunger. So again, this is another one where, although we say things like chocolates and things like that they are not on an non-approved list. They will not fill you up. So when someone has a chocolate bar or a biscuit or whatever food that's classed as bad or naughty, just account for the calories, but the downside to that is there's a higher chance it's not going to fill you up much. So you might get some hunger feelings, which you'll have to try to resist against. Otherwise you'll start that snowballing effect of eating more calories than you need. Personal preference as well. So this comes back to meal plans where, again, we've had a number of clients who have used personal trainers in the past where they have been given a bodybuilder type diet. So they've been given chicken, broccoli, sweet potato, or chicken, broccoli and rice for 5 meals of the day. Obviously they didn't stick to that diet very much because it just didn't fit in with their meal timings, it didn't fit in with their food preferences, and they were just given 3 foods to eat. So the downside to that is you're not going to get a very mixed diet, so you're going to be missing out on quite a lot of micronutrients, vitamins and minerals and things like that. So you can have a very flexible approach, and we can get you to lose weight on foods that you actually enjoy eating and that help you stick to a plan long term. So if you have a favorite sweet food or naughty food, that can very well fit in within your diet, and you can still lose weight with that. Hope that was helpful, and I'll speak to you soon.